Hi everyone, I hope you're having a wonderful day. I just want to take you on a ride to look at some Tartarian old world architecture in the Orient of all places. So let's begin. So this, if you can imagine all of this type of architecture that they got going on here, look at this. You would think that what I'm looking at is Rome with this high arches. Remember the one video that I did on the flying machines like the Zeppelin and how these were charging ports? This was probably what that tower was. And these domes that you find, usually you find them in Muslim countries, Hindu, or actually universal. I guess you're going to find those everywhere you go. But where is this buildings that we're looking at here? Well, this is Tokyo in 1900. And that's not the only one that they've got there. You may think there is this, they put out the propaganda that there was a very short time that they started to build European because the ruler really liked that style. But just like every place, it seems to be a bunch of bullhunky. It's not really true, because when you start looking, you're going to find that Tokyo has tons of this architecture. Like this building. If it wasn't for the letters on it, which is not, that's funny, it's 12, it's not the only one that is normal. If it wasn't for that, look at the cars. What year would you think this? You would think that was, I don't know, here in Edmonton, where I live, that kind of looks like a building that you would see here. But by looking at the cars, I'd say 1930-ish. Let's look at this one. It doesn't tell us where it is, but we know that it is the same thing. So take a look. It's got the features that we are looking at. It's got that high peak, all of the dome to collect the energy, the beautiful architecture. Look at this, it's just gorgeous. But where is it? Again, this one is Japan. It's Japan. And I would say, by looking, there seems to be, in this picture, we've got trolleys and lights and a lot of electricity poles at this point. So again, maybe 1910, maybe 1910. It's starting to be able to pick that out for, okay. So what are all the Oriental people doing building places like this back around 1900 or earlier, when we are told their architecture was completely different than this? Look at that. I mean, that looks like something you're going to find in Britain or Montreal, Toronto. Matter of fact, I think we have a couple of schools that look like that here in Edmonton. There was a lot of psychiatric hospitals that looked like this. It was buildings like this. They used them, they utilized them to house whatever you could think of. This one's a color one, but this is 1909. Those color ones were, this is Tokyo again, Tokyo Station, saying. These color ones probably was painted in. They used to do that. Beautiful though, beautiful building. I mean, it goes on forever, like the buildings in again, this is old Japan, it's saying. It's not giving a date on it. Well, if it is, I can't read it. take the writing off of it. Take the writing off of it, and I'm pretty sure that exact building is in Edmonton, downtown. Probably has a lot of the same design on it, like this design up here. I don't know if you can see that. It's almost like a wreath, and it comes on both sides and goes down. It's very typical Tartarian. All of these beautiful. Like they just went all out. See these curves? Those. Now just put English or take that off, and it is. And look, there's the carts that they run around in. And the building next to it is the same thing as well. This is another one. Again, they're not going to tell us what the date is, but we've got all those features that we're talking about. And the mud flood as well, where the windows, you see the windows there? I hope it comes in clear. Where the windows seem to be off-placed and so low. And it looks like it goes down here. These are typical signs of a mud flood building, which just means that some big catastrophe happened and covered up quite a big portion, and it's still buried. That's what mud flood means. Here's a good, just to remind you what a mud flood is. See how the hill is here? This building, how the hill is. If you start digging that out, you're going to find that building is going down a number of other floors. And that would be a typical. And you can see this one is the Orient. Again, we've got that typical Oriental look here on this. But the building is not. The building is Tartarian, is Romanesque. Oh, look at this one. Is this? Here is this one. Let's see if we're even looking at. Oh no, this is San Francisco's. Oh, but there you go. So there you go, off the cliff. Do you think that building was? I know we're not in it, but let's examine this just because it's interesting. Do you see how it's coming off right here? Do you think that they actually built it like that, or maybe this building has been they put on because it started the ground started wearing away from where the mud floods was? Like who would build that there? Obviously the landscape has changed since this was originally built. But let's get back to the Orient and Tartaria. I mean, I'm just looking at building after building after building that just looks like downtown Edmonton, you know, where I live in Canada, in Alberta. And it's a very new country, Canada, as you know, but we have buildings. I mean, there's no mistaking where we are, right? But look at the building that it's got. 1904, they're saying. But look at the building again. I mean, these all were added afterwards. These are shoddy, right? These poles, you can see like they're crappy done. Look at this, it's even leaning. It's so bad. It is not. Who's putting in these right now? Who's putting in the electricity here are not the same people who built this. Because this had its own power source. This is the afterthought of when they rediscovered some of these buildings and civilization moved back in, and then they built these. They built those kind of things, those slapped together houses, and that's where everybody lived. Not in the beautiful Tartarian buildings that was stolen from whoever lived there in the beginning. And so, here you go. Like, ignore the umbrellas and the Japanese-looking women and look at that. Have you seen that street before? Have you seen those poles before? Look at those poles. Those are all over the cities that I live by. All of this. This is it's like looking down Jasper Avenue here in Edmonton. But it's not Jasper Avenue. So I guess that's really wanted to just show you that, as I've told you in the past, this architecture was everywhere. It was a worldwide, look at that. What in the world? It's just damaged the picture. But what in the world happened here? This is where you find that a lot of these buildings were destroyed through these wars that they make up. And they really just target the buildings. They get rid of the evidence of what was there before. And so you're going to see a lot of destruction around them. My goodness, how horrible. Just horrible. And you may think we do this to ourselves. I don't believe we are. We go along with it. We go along with whatever it is until we get to this point. We don't realize that we're actually being herded into a situation like this, that our lives will be horrific, because the people that are doing this to us, and are about to do this to us, have done this before. There's nothing new under the sun. But they trick us in the beginning, you know. They get us fearful. They get us thinking that something bad's going to happen. And they indoctrinate us in the school systems to teach us to be obedient and not to think, not to use your critical thinking. And so then we go along with it because we're fearful and we're obedient, and we believe that they have our they have our best interest at heart. But they don't. And they do this to us every time, no matter who you are or what culture. They're starting to do this to us again under the disguise of a virus. And if you've looked, I did do a video, I don't remember which one it was, but I showed all of this trickery that was done about the virus in 1918 with the Spanish influenza, how they created the exact same fear mongering by telling everybody that this virus was going to come. I have the video, and it shows them telling them that they have to be vaccinated and it's going to save them. And then within 6 months after they vaccinated, and yes, they did vaccinate. I mean, the numbers change, but I've heard up to 65 million people were dead within 6 months, and it was because of the vaccination. And then they put us into these kind of states. Then the people afterwards are like this. And a great deal of the ones that are still left will still die. It's their way of calling the population, of bringing the population down, because they're sick and they believe that they have the right to control us. They have the right to choose who lives and who dies. And we are very innocent in our thinking, and we go along with the plan. We go along with the things that, because we think it's in our best interest. We think they have our best interest. But when you start looking into who these people are, they don't think like us. They don't act like us. They don't get educated like us. They're not us, and they don't care about us. And those are the people that are forcing you to wear masks. You know what the saddest part is seeing all the young men, like in their 20s and that, going along with this, and the teenagers, the late teens and stuff, I get stares when I don't wear a mask from them. Like if they had a bat, they would knock my head off. And that frightens me, because they've been so brainwashed into accepting what's going to happen, and they're going to believe at the end of the day the reason why things fall apart is because of people like me that never wore a mask, and they are not going to realize that the reason why everybody started dying was because of the vaccination. And if you've ever read on any of the vaccinations, they don't do it anymore, do they? Look at these beautiful pictures. You can't find it anymore. You can't get the ingredients anymore. It's harder to get. But they used to tell us on the commercials, they'd have a long list and they'd just have this paper rolling and scrolling and rolling about all the ways it was going to kill you. But take it anyways. And we do. Now, these people were probably Tartarians. This is probably a picture of the true people before they had their culture stolen. Because Tartarians, this worldwide culture that was all over, had people were beautiful, no matter where they were, there was really no such thing as a peasant. It was just people that lived closer to the earth, ones that chose to have that lifestyle, to be farmers. And lots of people, I love it. I'm not a farmer, but I have chickens and I have a garden and I live on an acreage, and I just can't imagine giving that up for living in the city. I have such a full life. I recommend all of you, even if you've got houses, look at this beautiful, beautiful stuff. Even if you got houses that you own and you think, well, I can't sell it. It's just not the timing. I've had people in my family say, oh, I've got the 5-year plan. I'm going to move out of the country in about 5 years when we can afford it. Well, you can afford it right now. You can rent your place. I know that's risky, but you can rent your place, and you can rent a place in the country, and you can grow your own food and have your own goats for milk. And I mean, the cities, the farmers are the ones that make it whenever these calamities happen. I mean, there's not a guarantee in that, but they are the ones that do make it. The city people, it's like an open coffin. It's a coffin. The cities, especially in my city, I know we're going away from Tataria, and look at these people. Look at how they lived. And they were, even the little kids, just glorious. But in my area, Edmonton, Alberta, over the last 15 years, they've been building this ring road around the whole city. And I don't know, I think there's 8 exits, and it's impossible to get onto this unless you go onto the ramps. And it's impossible almost to even walk through it because the way that they've designed this. So it becomes a wall around the city, and you would think, oh, well, that's great. It would stop invaders from coming in. But what we're seeing right now with the lockdowns, it's going to stop you from going out. That goes into the vision that I had, or I had for months and months and months. Me with younger people, trying to get them out of the city and going through, basements, and just trying to do it in the back alleys and going at night and just trying to get these people. I could hear, machine guns going and people screaming and horrific things. This went on for months, these visions that I was having, and I believe that you might actually be seeing some of that happening right now. And unfortunately, it looks like that will be more in the future. So I think a lot of the people that you're looking at right here would have been of that old world, where they had time to do things like this, to hand embroider and become artisans, to not just do it to get it done, but to do it to be beautiful. So I would say that people that you're looking at here were the Oriental Tartarians, peaceful, loving people, pride that had, well, I don't know if I would say prideful, but creative. And when you look at their pages, their faces, they have a form of satisfaction on their faces that we don't have today. Well, I guess that may be the end of it, of what I wanted to talk about, to show you how Tartaria was all over the world, and it was in the Orient, and it was peaceful, and it wasn't very long ago. And also that the government has done this lockdown before, have done this virus before, and have done the vaccinations before. And after all of what they did, millions and millions, tens of millions of people were dead. I won't wear a mask because that would be saying I accept or I'm going to, I approve, and I don't approve of what's happening. Educate yourself, guys. It is the most valuable thing. It is more valuable than eating right. Educating yourself is top priority right now so that you can understand what the world is doing, what the governments are planning, what they have in the past. As the Bible says, there's nothing new under the sun. If you believe like I do, I believe that the governments are ran at this time by the fallen angels, and they have done this wickedness in the past many times. Just to give you, showing you how masks have been used in the population. 1918, look at this. Flu pandemic, 1918. Around the same time, I'm sure these are 1918 here. Look at this one. 1919, it says, wear a mask or go to jail. This is nothing new under the sun, everybody. Nothing new under the sun. Talk to you later. Live in love and light. And light, love is from the Creator. Live and bask in His glory, in His instructions. And the light is looking in the dark places, because that's what a real light worker is, you know. They don't just shine. They're not just, you know, peace and love and meditation. They're people that look at the dark and shine a light to the evil. That's what a light worker is. So live in love and light. Talk to you later.